Hey, this is Mike with Ideas by Mike. We often talk about a lifespan being when we pass away, but today we're going to talk about the word health span and wealth span and kind of give you some guidance on what the word span means for you.
Welcome to this week's Stories, Resources, and Ideas. I'm your host, Mark Conway, and joined with Mike Milligan, who I can't wait to hear about span. Like, you hear people say the word and use the word in different things, and wingspan and lifespan and all these kind of things, but you always have a different take to apply back to people's long-term success.
Yeah, I heard this. I heard this quote one time recently. It said, that person died at 25. He just wasn't buried until he was 75. It's this whole idea that they just stopped living. It was actually done around a joke about somebody who got married, and that the marriage was the end of his life.
Right.
So, there's a lot of that person probably said that he had a great marriage span or lifespan with that partner, but they were just talking about how he used to be fun before that, and then over the next 50 years he became less rigid and less, or he became more rigid and didn't want to have fun in his life. So they said he died at 25, wasn't buried to 75. But we use that span concept when it comes to somebody's life expectancy versus their health expectancy. Choices you make. I mean, Mark, you're healthy. Mm-hmm. You're a major Spartan athlete. I mean, you know what it takes to sacrifice to be in such great shape, and what it takes in life. I mean, you understand that difficulty, right?
Absolutely. It's a struggle. There are sacrifices, but at the same time, it's changing my mindset about what sacrifice is, because I am coming up on 47, and I can still go run a Spartan race and feel good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 45, and I'm telling you, I'm not as strong as I used to be, just physically strong, but I'm more mentally strong than I've ever been. And life experience helps me get more accomplished now than in the past, when I would just kind of bruise through something or just kind of power through something else. And so this whole idea of span, right? I want to break it down just a little bit, because a span represents your story. We talk about stories, resources, and ideas. People will tell you, that dash between the year you were born, the year you died, that's a span, right? That's a lifespan. And it's so small. It's that little dash they put on a tombstone is so freaking small. But I'm going to tell you, there's even two spans that are more important than a lifespan. We're all going to die. 100% guaranteed. I have clients and second, third connection people who I hear about death, it seems, all the time, because we're out in the public hearing about that. I'm sure you hear about deaths all the time,
absolutely.
Too. But finances have a death also. I mean, money runs out in people's life all the time. And so I want to talk today and give, I think everybody understands the concept of death. I mean, I know, I hope you haven't had anybody close to you pass away, Mark. I mean, it's a tough conversation to have, death, but it's a necessary one to have, because it's 100% probable. It's going to happen. It's how we prepare for it that lightens the load on everybody else. In the financial world, there's a famous quote out there, is that somebody's real hell should be having not prepared financially for death. The hell would be coming back and cleaning up their financial mess, because that's often what's left for people to do, is at the end, is they create such a myriad of stuff, just a big pile of crap that means nothing to anybody else, but kids and family members are left to clean that up. But I want to talk about health span first, because lifespan's easy to define. 100%, it's the day we die, right? Your legacy span is the last time your name's mentioned on the earth. So you could be dead, but your legacy lives on. But your lifespan is the day you die. Your health span is the day you stop living. people, I mean, this is coming more and more in focus. And this is more of a, when I'm telling this out for people who are listening, I'm just vision casting with you because this is something that as medicine gets better, as healthcare gets better, we're going to live longer. Every generation lives longer. We're not healthy as long always, though. So I want to vision cast with people and let people hear this story and put themselves in it first. Lifespans at death. Legacy plans when your name is said for the last time. But health span is when you're not able to live as much anymore. I've got a client I just had lunch with yesterday. He's 72 years old. His wife's 76. They met in a foreign country. She is from another country. She's got a great accent. But he was in the military, stationed overseas, and they met each other. She was working for another government. He was working as a patriot, as a soldier for us. And they got married. They had a marriage in that country where they got married. They went back to her home country and had a wedding, and then came back to the States where they eventually landed, had a couple kids, 4 great grandkids, and lived. But he's aging. He's 72. By no ways is he dead yet. Mm-hmm. He's not dead. He's got many more years to live. And boy, have they lived. They lived in the Keys, and they've lived overseas in multiple countries. They kind of settled where we are. But one thing that's happened is they slowed down. They just recently went on a trip and had another one planned like 4 weeks from now, but just got back from a trip. We were having lunch, catching up about that trip, that location. But he said, Mike, I'm getting slower. I could barely get up out of place now. Had to be escorted around in wheelchairs at the airport. He said it helped him in some ways. He's like, but we had to cancel a trip we had to Key West in 4 weeks because we don't have the strength to do it now. We're going to go out with a bang. We're going to do a big Northwestern excursion pretty soon. He said, but it's hard to plan much beyond that because we are slowing down. He's 72. His wife is 76. They may live into their 80s, but their life span, their health span is quickly fading. He was sharing with me about some doctor's visits he's got to go to, but he's going to live. He's going to mentally be here. He's going to be able to drink good wine that's going to be shipped to his house and have some good food that's going to be delivered to his house, get new countertops, and he's got some plans for what he wants to do, but man, his health span is fading fast. And he told me that he was in the military, had to go to PT, he said he wished he would have continued that in life. He said because after he retired, he gained about 50, 60 pounds. It never came off. He didn't stay active. He said he drank a little bit too much bourbon and whiskey. Regrets, right? Regrets. And I mean, I probably drink too much bourbon and whiskey now, but I'll be dealing with that at the end of my health span. But this is what I'm talking about with health spans. He's facing it right here. It's right in his face that he can't do what he used to do. And he wishes that he would have, like he planned with his money, because he's going to have an amazing wealth span. It's going to go past his life. But his health span is not going to allow him to enjoy it. Wow. So there's three concepts of span right there. You get that, Mark? Legacy. Last time your name's mentioned. Life, it's your death. But your health is when you can no longer live. So of those, I mean, this is what I want people to realize is put yourself in this story. I don't care if you're 15 or 20 listening to this, or 30 or 40 or whatever. You got to start planning for health span, because that is where life ends, and memories. You just basically the rest of your life are telling stories you can't live. There's no more experiences. You're living vicariously through somebody else. You're living hearing other people. Your world gets really small. You don't go out. There's just a lot that happens when your health span is over. Does that make sense? It
does. I mean, because you have to look at that. You have to plan. That's not only that living life and the accomplishing goals and things like that. It's you're going to run towards that point where you can't make any more money. You can't necessarily work day in and day out to make income.
But when your health span is over 2, you can't spend money on things you want to spend money on. You know, he doesn't want to spend money on a nurse coming in to help him live. He wants to spend money at a bar in Aruba for 4 weeks out of a year. Or he wants to go to Alaska and hop on a riverboat cruise, or go to, you know, Joshua Tree in California. There's all these places he wants to see. Now, he's been a world traveler because of what his job was. He's seen a lot. Where she's from, he's seen a lot. But right now, as he's coming to the end of his health span, he wishes he could see more firsthand. I mean, he could still see it watching YouTube videos or something like that, right? That's the power of where the time we're living in, is he can still see something in pretty clear, high definition in his living room, but it's not the same thing as touching the ground, smelling the air, going up to a bar and, you know, having great conversation with people. Health span is something that when we talk about span, legacy, last name, life, dying, and health, you know, I'd venture to tell people your health span is the most important of all the spans. Nobody wants to die, right? Nobody wants to die. But your health span is what is most important. There's some, you know, there's some resources out there to kind of deal with that too. I mean, there's the medical community, the whole freaking medical community is out there. You pay for insurance, health insurance, required as part of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. There's that, right? You know, people don't use it. They don't get physicals. You know, they don't go kind of get checked up and said, hey, tell me what I need to do to increase my health span. They're just kind of winging it. They're passively going through life, not aggressively planning what the next step is. That's kind of the first thing. Put yourself in the story and say, how can I increase my health span? What little bit can I do today to go into the future? I'm told, I mean, I'm a numbers guy and I read a lot of stuff, but what I hear is that every time you do an hour of high intensity interval training, you're adding about 15 minutes to your life, to your health span. That's what I hear. So, you know, if you do that 4 times a week, you're adding about an hour to your life. You do that, you know, 52 weeks or 50 weeks out of the year, you're adding 50 hours to your life. That's, 50 hours is about 2 days. You do that for 20 years. I mean, you're adding about a month and a half to your life. I mean, it's just like, it adds up, right? Every little bit adds up. You spend a little bit of time now doing something to help your health span. It adds up at the end. You're going to have a longer health span. Man, it's not too dissimilar from your wealth span. Not at all. A little bit today can go a long way tomorrow with time and compounding the effects of that over time, right? Compounding the choices you make with some time will have big impacts at the end. Increase your health span, get your health span and your lifespan closer together. I think most people want to, when they die, they want to die having lived the life to the absolute fullest. I think that's what they want. So let's talk about wealth span for a minute, because this is just important. I mean, you get up to your, you get to retirement and you've lived life and, you know, you're healthy, you're strong, but you got no money. I ain't got no money. I ain't got no job. Can't do any of that because you didn't appropriately place resources toward your wealth span. Okay, wealth span is the whole idea of saving money so that at some point in the future, you have it to live on. You turn the assets you saved into an income so you no longer have to trade your time for an income.
Right.
You know, that's what most people who work do. They trade their time to get an income. And they're giving away time to be able to pay bills. And hopefully during that time, they're also saving. So your wealth span is really, it's made up of how long you save money versus how long you accumulate the benefits of that saved money, meaning the interest you earn on that money. And then at the end, it comes up to a pot that creates a period of time that your money will last. And some people in their wealth span, that wealth goes beyond their lifespan. That's an inheritance. That's what people get, right? Is they have wealth beyond their life. Somebody gets an inheritance. Some people 80% of Americans, the numbers all over the place, but it's looking like the most recent numbers that came out is 80% of Americans will run out of money in retirement.
Mhm.
They'll run out of money before they actually retire. Yep. And so by doing that, they didn't plan big enough for their wealth span. They let their wealth span run out before their health span ended, and really before their life ended too. So then they become, as they traded their time previously for an income, now they have to, either go back to work or depend on the generosity of somebody else, depend on the generosity of family or others. They impose themselves on somebody. So this whole concept of span is ever developing. We used to talk about goals and objectives as financial planners, and financial planners didn't talk about your health. And then you would go to to a gym, and they would talk about getting you in shape, but they would never talk about, your money. And so we got this whole concept where all of this is coming together, and it's going to be even bigger in the future when health coaches merge with financial coaches or financial planners and develop this holistic approach to your money matching your health span, but both of them getting you to your lifespan and ultimately your legacy. I tell you, Mark, I talk about that legacy span for a second. If you leave a inheritance to somebody, pretty damn sure they're going to be talking about you for a while.
You would hope.
Pretty sure. I think when you walk around college campuses and you see names on buildings, that name is a legacy, right? Very few people's names that are up there are still living today. And because of that inheritance they left to that college or university, that name's still being spoken. There's people talking in with much affinity and love and hope. And so ideally, with a wealth span, if you don't really care about your legacy that much, you want your wealth span to match your lifespan. Even better than that, you want the last check you ever write to the undertaker to bounce. And if that bounces, if you have a canceled check to the undertaker, that means you have the perfect financial plan. You use every dollar to death, every dollar. But most people are going to come short of that. 80% of people are going to come short of that according to the most recent numbers. And so now it's a matter of putting ourselves in the story, right? The story of how does my life end? Now that I know my past story, I know the story I'm living right now, but I need to identify my future story. What do I want it to be like? And if you identify what that story is and then apply the resources to get your health span as long as possible and your wealth span, oh my goodness, life lived to the fullest, man. That's ideas into money right there. That's what we want to encourage people to do today. So we want to encourage people to put themselves and actually spend some time defining their story, creating their personal budget for their wealth side, creating their personal budget for diet, exercise, and their health side, and then seek advice. Seek the advice of a financial planner, seek the advice of a health coach, seek the advice of a nutritionist. Pick up your insurance card, find a doctor, go get your free physical and see where you stand, and then set some goals around that. Don't just go get a physical for them to tell you you're okay. Go get a physical so that when you walk out of there, you can be like, okay, this is what I want to be better next. I want my cholesterol to be better. I want my blood pressure to be better. I want my weight to be better. I want something to be better, and then tell your doctor. Because then the doctor, when you come back, he'll write it in his notes and be like, hey, let's look. Oh, you didn't make it, right? Don't keep that stuff to yourself. Tell somebody. Hold yourself accountable. And so a span. Man, this is not spam like SPAM, like the meat that they eat all the time in Hawaii. We're talking about span that's meaningful, that's in your life. It's how long your money's going to last, it's how long your health is going to last. And ultimately, that's going to define the experiences you have in your life. So let's identify those resources together. Let me help you find those professionals. Let me help you with your wealth and turning that money into something that's going to be magical for you and your family. That's what we're here for. That's what a lot of people who do what I do are there for. They just don't articulate it that well. They don't come out and say that. They don't say that. They just say that, hey, we want to make your money grow. What they really saying is there's a lot of great people who do what I do, who don't get as passionate as I am about it. But what they're saying when you sit down with them, they're just really smart. They're not passionate about it. They say, I want your money to last a long time for you, and I want it to be legacy money, but I wanted to get to your life. I definitely wanted to get to your health. And so let somebody who maybe not articulates it the same way, just ask them if they're in this to help you get as far as you can. And if they're giving you real advice, meaning save more or pull back or more insurance or less insurance, listen to that, because if they're credentialed, more than likely they're doing what's in the best interest of you.
And you follow the guys by following on Instagram at Ideas by Mike, and at the website at meetwithmikemilligan.com. Remember, Mike and his team are the ones that are answering those messages over on Instagram. So make sure to give them a follow there. And then also on the website to formally look at becoming a client, because Mike is going to be there and his team to guide you to making those spans come in line together. Thanks so much for this great week, Mike.
Yeah, bud.
And guys, keep a follow to the podcast for more stories, resources, and ideas. Have a great week.